happy 2026. Welcome back. One of the things that I like to talk about on my channel, just because for me it's all so interconnected in my life, is travel. So the video today is going to be on 5 Mediterranean countries that I've been to and my favorite things about each one. So the reason that I chose the Mediterranean region is because it truly is my favorite region that I've ever traveled to. I've been to every continent besides Africa and South America, and of course, Antarctica. And I want to say I've been to around 15 or 16 countries. And out of all those countries, my favorite ones have been in the Mediterranean. It's just my favorite region. And just to explain a little bit about why, I really love the climate, the landscape, the warmth of the people, the history there. I feel like it's the perfect blend of everything that I love. And I just feel like every time I spend time there, it feels like home. I really love the Mediterranean part of the world. So, and of course, the food is absolutely amazing. If I had to choose one type of food to eat for the rest of my life, it would be Mediterranean food. Another reason that I wanted to talk about it is because my first novel was actually based on 2 Mediterranean countries that I've been to. And I talk about that in my first video in more detail. But because that's just all so linked for me, I get inspiration and ideas for my creative work all the time from places that I've traveled to. And so I just wanted to include a video on that today. So country number 1 is Greece, and specifically we've been to Crete, Greece. Crete is the biggest island in Greece, and it actually used to be its own country, so the culture is slightly different than the rest of it. But we went there for our honeymoon in 2021 and just absolutely fell in love with it. It was gorgeous. It had everything you could want there, from beaches to mountains to vineyards. It just had all the things, and the food was amazing. But one of the first things that we noticed when we went there was actually the people and how kind and warm they were. I remember when we met our second Airbnb host, he was just so kind, so sweet. It felt almost as if he was like a longtime friend with how he treated us, truly. And I remember we came up to the beautiful Airbnb that we got. And actually, that's another thing that we loved about Crete specifically, is it's so affordable. Obviously, the ticket's the most expensive part, but once you get there, the food, the accommodations, everything is so affordable compared to the rest of Europe. Our dollar was able to go really far there. So we just really appreciate that aspect of it. So we got a beautiful Airbnb with a gorgeous, perfect view of the ocean, the turquoise water, with a giant balcony, and just everything was so clean and modern in the interior. And we get up there and we open our fridge, and this is after, traveling across the island. So we're hungry, we're tired, it was hot. So we open our fridge and it's just filled to the brim with snacks and fruits and refreshments and just all kinds of things that sustained us for a couple of days at least for breakfast. And it was just such a sweet thing for him to do. And then he realized that it was our honeymoon, and he said something about to my husband, he's like, "Oh, this is your girlfriend?" And he's like, "No, like we actually just got married. She's my wife." And he was like, "What? You just got married?" He was like genuinely happy for us. It was so sweet to see. And he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna do a surprise for you." So we're like, "Okay, like you don't have to, but that's very kind, very sweet of you." So we get back to our apartment a couple of days later, and hanging on the door is this beautiful bouquet of roses. And you know how it has like the plastic wrapped around it? He cut a little hole to be able to put it on the doorknob, and it was just the most sweet, kind thing that he could have done. I don't know, it might seem like a small thing, but to us it was just such an example of how kind the people were, how friendly and warm and welcoming and hospitable they were. And so the people there were just truly so good to us. And then another big thing that we really noticed was the food. I love Mediterranean food, as I mentioned, but I do feel like out of all the countries that we've been to, Crete had the most consistently good and fresh food. Like, you'll go to a country sometimes and you'll have like 5 or 6 restaurants that are amazing, or a handful of restaurants. But here, I kid you not, every single place we went to was so delicious, so fresh. And on top of that, they're such generous people that they'd give us something on the house, some sort of appetizer. We finish our meal, they bring us a giant like not just like a little chocolate, a giant dessert on the house. Like it was just a normal part of every meal. They'd bring you a little shot of rakia and, some fruit on the house. We really felt welcome there, and everyone was so kind. The food was so delicious, so I would definitely recommend Crete, Greece. Country number 2 is Spain, and specifically the Mediterranean town that we were in was Valencia. So Valencia was just an amazing, amazing, beautiful city that we went to. It had a beautiful, long, gorgeous beach that we stayed a couple blocks from, but it also had a really cool old town. And so it was a really nice blend of like the more laid back, beach life and all that. But it also had the old town with the delicious coffee shops and brunch spots and things to explore and culture and all that. So we really love Valencia. And on top of that, we rented a moped, which is one of our favorite ways to get around towns and explore when we travel. So that was really cool. But yeah, we genuinely enjoyed Valencia. Probably one of the most gorgeous beaches or oceans that I've seen that we've been to. Very clean. The boardwalk was beautiful. It was a lovely, lovely city. And one thing I loved about it, which goes for really all of a lot of Europe and a lot of these Mediterranean towns, is just it's so lively so late into the night, which was really cool to see and experience. Um, you know, like I remember in Crete, we would only start going out at 8:30 or 9 because that's when all the locals start coming out to have dinner. That's when the restaurants get busy. It's like 9 p.m. and people just stay out with their families and just spend time with each other. And it's an amazing atmosphere. And I remember in Valencia, we stumbled across this random cafe, like somewhere in the middle of the city, not even in a tourist area. And there's just all these locals sitting there. There's a couple guys playing live music. They're playing some Gypsy King songs, which we love the Gypsy Kings. And there's just locals dancing just outside within the cafe. They're just dancing and enjoying the music. And that was just so cool to see. And then another one of my favorite experiences, one of my favorite experiences ever was we got to see Mark Anthony live in Valencia, Spain. And it wasn't just like this planned concert, like it was how it happened to. It was so spontaneous. So basically we found out like that day, I either on my phone or we saw a billboard or something like, oh wow, Mark Anthony's gonna be here tonight. And so we're like, man, probably won't get tickets, but that would have been really cool to go. So we just kind of forget about it. Later that night, we're walking around, after dinner, doing our usual stroll along the walkway, along the water. And as we're walking, we just see streams of people heading in one direction. We're like, okay, that's probably where the concert is. So we're like, well, let's just go check it out, see how it, see what the situation is, just maybe get a glimpse. So we start walking down, we get down there, and as we start to walk up to where you would, punch in your ticket, this local man comes up to us and he's like, hey, are you guys looking for tickets? And we're like, yeah, why? And he's like, well, I'm a cop and we get them discounted and I'm not going to use these two, so I can give them to you guys for half off. So we're like, okay, cool. So we pay him this like amazing price for these Mark Anthony tickets and we get in. And let me tell you, a concert in Valencia, Spain is so different from a concert in America, in my experience at least. I feel like in America, not trying to put shade on America, not trying to put shade on the US or anything, but just, other countries do things better, which is why I love to travel because I feel like traveling, you see all the most amazing parts of each country and you get to just really experience all these different cultures. So, anyways, that was something that Spain did very well because I feel like, you buy $300 or whatever, depending where you sit, $150 tickets to a concert here, and you're sitting in these like super tight seats where the whole row has to stand up just for you to get out, and then everyone's just kind of either sitting there or standing there, and it's just, I don't know. To me, I'm like, it's such an experience thing. I would rather do like a tiny little concert, in some cafe than go to one of these giant ones in a closed stadium. Anyways, all that to say, this was such a different experience from your typical concert because we get in there, and so Mark Anthony is a Spanish singer, so all his songs are in Spanish. And I feel like the Spanish culture is just so about music and expression and all that. So we get in there and the whole crowd is singing along to all the words, moving along with the music, and it was just so different from your typical concert experience. And all this is under an open sky on a warm summer night in Spain. And so it was truly one of those experiences that I was like, wow, I can't believe that I got to experience that, and I will truly cherish that memory forever. Country number 3 is Italy, one of our favorite countries. And in Italy, we went to 2 towns that were Mediterranean. The first one was Sorrento, which is on the Amalfi Coast, and the other one was Polignano a Mare, which is on the east coast of Italy. We loved both of those places. We spent less time in Sorrento. We just had 2 nights there, our first trip there. And then the last Italy trip we did with a group, and we did, I want to say like 4 or 5 days in Polignano. So we loved it. It was just one of those beautiful seaside towns with the whitewashed buildings, turquoise water. We did some cliff jumping there. We had, delicious Italian cuisine. We explored the town, and it was a really lovely time. We really enjoyed Polignano a Mare, so I would recommend it. The East Coast is a little bit less touristy than the Amalfi Coast, so that was a plus side. Not as crowded, especially in the summertime. So yes, I would definitely recommend those places. Country number 4 is Croatia. I talk more about that in my first video, but that trip is actually where I got inspired to write my first novel. And so it heavily influenced my novel. So we stayed in Split, Croatia. Split is actually just across the sea from the eastern coast of Italy. So they actually are influenced by Italy a little bit. I noticed they have a kind of a blend of Italian cuisine with Balkan cuisine. We really enjoyed Split. We stayed in the old town most of the time, which was really cool because everywhere you walk in the old town is just these cobblestone streets and these stone buildings, and you just feel like you're walking around in ancient Rome because the whole old town actually used to be Diocletian's palace. So it was just a really cool experience. But at the same time, there are so many modern cafes and restaurants where you get, those lattes, the modern lattes that everyone loves, and the delicious brunch that everyone loves. And so it was just such a good fusion of all the history and all the culture in that kind of immersion, but also it had all the modern things that we all love too. So for that trip, we basically bought a one-way ticket and just tried to not vacation there, but stay there as if we lived there. So, we had a routine. We would do our remote work in the morning from coffee shops or from our apartment. And then, we would enjoy the evenings off and exploring the city, and weekends exploring outside of the city. And so Croatia was just beautiful, gorgeous landscape, every kind of landscape you could imagine, and just such a lush, beautiful, beautiful place. The only thing about Croatia was a lot of their beaches were pebble beaches. Maybe consider grabbing some water shoes or something if you plan to go to the beaches there. Country number 5 is Turkey. Turkey was our last international trip. We did Hungary and Turkey, and the Mediterranean town we went to in Turkey is Bodrum. Bodrum was a beautiful, beautiful little town. It reminded me of Greece, actually, which makes sense because Greece is to the west of it. But it was really beautiful. You have the beautiful water, the beautiful town, again, the whitewashed walls and all that, delicious food, such a lively atmosphere in the town, especially at night. No matter what day of the week, there's always something going on until the late hours of the night. So it was just such a good time there. And the Turkish people were also just such warm and kind people, so generous. And we just experienced that time and time again in Turkey. We really, really enjoyed Bodrum, and we would love to go back to Turkey and explore more of it. So, as always, if there's anything else that you want me to talk about or go over, please leave a comment below. And thank you so much for watching.